If you are enjoying the Pivot Project podcast, please subscribe. Please keep up to date with what we're doing. I really, really will appreciate it, and Kay will even appreciate it even more.
Hello and welcome to the Pivot Project, the podcast exploring life and career transitions. My name's Davika, I'm a life design coach and I'm your host for today. On today's episode, I'm here with Danny Fahey. Danny Fahey is a creative professional who's been in the entertainment industry for over 30 years in multiple capacities. And he's been able to use his wealth of experience to mentor other creatives and manage musicians within the industry. Let's get into the episode.
Well, what's the gentleman part about? And where do I fit into that? And in doing my research, I came across what they call the 30-pound gentleman. Right, which is obviously that's what I went on to call my agency.
Yeah.
And the 30-pound gentleman, if you go back to the King James the First era, any man, if you had £30, which in that time you're talking like Jacobean era, £30 was like being a multi-millionaire. Yeah, it was like having like serious millions.
Listen, I wish it was that right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'd be blessed. I'd be all right. I'd be good. I'd be okay.
But it was like having serious millions. But if you had the peas, you could turn up at the King's Court and you could present yourself and you could become what they call landed gentry.
Yeah.
So landed gentry is you pay your money, £30, they would give you some land and a title and a crest. Yeah.
You know, I'm laughing is because you pay £30 for a co-working space now and you get like a cup of tea and a nice space to do your work in. It's crazy, isn't it?
You get land, you get land, a title, a crest, and you would become a gentleman, and maybe you'd be a sir or a count or a baron or a whatever. But what I was really interested in is the bit that comes before. Because these were like regular men, right? So if you was like, I don't know, a blacksmith. I'm thinking like medieval times, right? Whatever. You're a blacksmith or a farmer or whatever. You probably couldn't read. You probably weren't numerate. You would have had to do a lot of social climbing. You would have had to engage in a lot of self-development. You would have had to just be like so differently minded to get to the point where you could knock on the door and somebody takes you seriously. It's that first part, not the transactional part. The transactional part means nothing. It's the first bit. How do you go from just being the any man to being, I've learned to read, I've learned to write, I understand money, I've climbed socially so much that I'm not getting turned away from the door, they're letting me in, and I've got the money I deserve to be in this space. That is how TPG was born as an idea. It's through having that as a thought, and that thought is what made 30-pound gentleman. It wasn't an agency to begin with. It was just an idea. It was just an idea that lived digitally. It was ticking over in the background, and it slowly started to build a community. And some of that community came through Clubland because I was still active in clubs. So I was still active at like the Merkage Club, and, you know, with Total Garage and certain other events and stuff that was happening in Manchester. And by maybe like 2016, maybe 2017, a friend of mine who was working in advertising, Josie, got in touch with me, and she said to me, listen, this thing that you've got a community, you've got access to culture, you've got access to people in a way that like most big companies don't.
Legit,
And she was working for an advertising company called Y&R, like Young and Rubicam, which is like one of the biggest. And one of her clients was the BBC, and it's the BBC FA Cup. And the first like brand type work that TPG ever done was with the BBC FA Cup, and it was like insights and research and helping them to understand why they were losing audiences to like the Premier League and the Champions League and all of these kind of things. But that moment made me go, yep, because it was so well paid. So well paid, and it was another opportunity for me to use everything that I am and everything that I have in one practice. So that's why TPG slowly became an agency. And over the next maybe 2 years, it became like a full service agency with more brand clients. So Nike came, Red Bull came. We've worked with all of the big football clubs. Like there was so many brands all the way up to like your Audemars Piguet and, you know, high-end luxury like brands, CP Company, Stone Island. We've done it all.
So did you expand like your team as well? Because obviously originally, like you said, it was your idea.
Yeah, originally it was just me, and Josie co-founded with me.
Yeah.
But she got burnt out like real quick.
I mean, agency life be like that.
Well, she'd been in advertising for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, she came along, was like, yo, you could do this.
Yeah.
Gassed me up to do it, and then like got burnt out and like went to go surfing. Living in a camper van in Cornwall.
I don't blame her though, you know. I don't blame her.
She's a surf instructor.
Yeah.
To this day, like that's her thing. Yeah, she's
pivoted, you know.
Do you know what it was like? Very like the more I learned about advertising, it's like a very like madman like thing to do. Like, oh my god, I'm so burnt out. I'm gonna be a surf instructor, mad thing.
Yeah.
But she's one of the homies, man. But without her coming along, going, yo, you could do this. I wouldn't have done it. Not in the same way.
No.
I wouldn't have considered that it could be like an agency, you know, in deeply in advertising. I had an understanding of like brand relationships from being an artist.
Yeah.
You know, I had my own brand relationships as an artist. So I understood that there was some power in that, and I was leaning towards it, but wouldn't have gone all the way with it the way that I did.
It's blown even more though, hasn't it? Right? Like now brands are really getting, you know, onto these like community initiatives and collaborations, and like they're really big on it. But you've been doing it for like nearly 10 years.
Yeah. It would have been 11 years. TPG is on the wind down. It's on the wind down, which is like another pivot point that we'll talk about.
Yeah, and I'm really curious as to why. What have you learned in those 10 years, for good and for bad? And does it still align with your purpose?
So I would say one thing for sure with TPG is I was so committed to it being authentic.
Yeah.
And when I say authentic, I mean just real. Just real, right? So that meant that I didn't speak, because I didn't come from the advertising world. So we didn't speak advertising speak. We didn't speak agency speak.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was a very honest dialogue about culture and consumers and communities and brand and product. And it was very, very honest. And it also meant that sometimes when we were talking to brands, we had to really hold a mirror up to them and say, like, listen, this is your record on transatlantic slavery.
Yeah.
This is your record on human slavery. This is your green record. If you want access to my community that I'm active in, we need to know what you're doing about any of it, because they're definitely going to want to know.
And when you say your community, like, were you like running events? Like, were you kind of bringing people together? Like, what?
Yeah,
what was that part?
It was like event driven. So like, you know, we used to have a conference every year. So the TPG Grand Seminar. Grand Seminar every year, we'd have like speakers. Sometimes it'd be in like a kind of TED Talk scenario. Sometimes it'd be in a Q&A type scenario where we had people like Sports Banger, Julia Danuga, Alex Ropes from Basement Approved. Like, we had people that were actively big in industry talking at these events. And a lot of the kind of like early audience alumni, you know, were people that have kind of like gone on to do things in their own like creative lives and emerged, which has been nice to see. But being authentic, holding power to account was kind of what became the identity for the business. And it was massively valuable for a long time. Hiring people based on their potential rather than their current ability was one of the worst things that I used to do. Yeah, like I would bring people and I'd be like, they got so much potential, but not everybody can fulfill it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can fulfill the potential that you see in them. So sometimes I would have teams that were just not working, just not operationally sound.
They're just vibing.
They're just vibing, right? They're not operationally sound. They're not like ready to really get the work in.
And do you feel like where that came from, that, what, you know, self-described military operational style, came from kind of the role that you had at Contact and maybe
No,
things afterwards?
that come from running a security company.
Got you.
That come from running a security company. Like when you have like 20, 25 men who just want to bust your head and eat your brains, like you need to have a level of control.
Got you. So you already kind of ran a business prior.
Yeah, I had a taxi firm as well. That was mad. But this is like when I was very young.
Yeah. So
it was a different world, man. It was a different world. I'm telling you, a completely different world. But back to this. I would say hiring on potential.
Yes.
Potential vibes rather than current ability is one of the things that I used to do. That was like I got burnt by that more than once. But also hiring people that were experts in their thing.
Yeah.
Was the thing that I started to do that was really good for the business. Do you know what I mean? And I would say like the last iteration of like the team, when it was a team, it was like me, Joy LaCresse, who she's a luxury expert. So she was at Cartier, she was at Gucci, she's currently at Richard Mille.
Yeah.
Like she's a rock star in her thing, and she's still only a very young person. But it was knowing, yo, she's got it. And I met her because I was mentoring her.
Wow.
I was like, actually, she needs something to do. Do you know what I mean? I managed to find her something to do. Merckx, who is a baseline and MC, baseline producer, like he's a legend in baseline, even though he's still quite young. But that was a young scene when it was like a new scene.
Yeah.
But he was on board on like insights, research, online stuff, strategy, who was like on as a project manager. But obviously he's like one of the more well-known like MCs from Manchester, drum and bass culture 140s. He was in the team. And then over the years, there's been other people that have dipped in and out of the team. So people like Melissa Penny, she's been like in and out of the team on the event side. But she's like the brand manager for Afro Nation and Piano People now. Or Aaron Fairweather, he's at Red Bull now, previously Nike, previously Metallic, previously Urban Nerds. Like he's a rock star in his thing. So choosing people that have been the rock stars of the moment to come, that was one of the better things. And that wasn't only based on potential, that was based on, yo, they're really doing it now. I need them in. I need them on board. Do you know what I mean?
And I think it's interesting what you said as well, because obviously you manage artists, right? Like you manage artists, and then you also have people who might, like you said, call you up, ask for guidance and whatever kind of role that you're able to provide there. When it comes to who you manage, though, obviously some of these people are quite up and coming. Maybe some of them might not know the face from the arse, in the sense of they're still quite new to the game. Does that kind of change? Like, do you see potential there in that respect?
Yeah, I'd have to see potential. Like, because the reality is, when you manage an artist, most managers, unless you're talking like kind of new model, major label deal, like the deal structure that I have with the artists that I manage is very kind, it's very pro artist.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because you've been one. It's
very pro artist.
Yeah.
But you're talking like 20% maximum.
Yeah.
But as a manager, you'll definitely put more than 20% of the work in.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Like definitely, if you've got an artist that's active, but also if you've got one that's like a bit scatty, like you're putting more than 20% of the work in for only 20% of the spoils.
Yeah.
That means you've got to like just love the work anyway.
Yeah.
And I generally end up managing artists that I just really believe in.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Going back to that idea of you being like a tastemaker as well, because you're the sort of person though as well that people might see that, okay, they could get managed by you, or I'm sure you get, I don't even know how many emails you might get with people's music, or this is...
Yeah, that one's a lot. The amount of people that send music in and go like, give me feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, if you don't know this is good, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. So what would you say you look for, or kind of come across when you're like...
It's got to be good in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so for example, but also it's more complicated than I'm putting it though, to be fair, because like Dref is a mature artist. Dref is 50. he's in his stride now as an artist, right? So he's like, and he's a visual artist. He makes fine art, oil paintings, murals, like art that's the size of a building, But he's in his stride as an artist at 50. But that also means that he's calm, collected, pays his taxes on time, he don't party, his children are adults. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's different. It's different with him. And also, we're best friends. That's my best friend.
Wow, okay.
Do you get me? So working with him is very easy. It doesn't feel like work. For the most part, it don't feel like work. And I don't develop him. There's no development work. Working with Gaika is heaven and hell. Because he's such an amazing big thinker. Like, I look at his work and I'm like, yo, this is the littest shit ever. Do you know what I mean? Him being a musician and a fine artist and a structural engineer and all of those things. I manage him because I want to be a part of his work. Because his work is great. There's not ever that much money in it. When we make money, it's fantastic. But there's not always a lot of money in it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? But I manage him because I love the work. I want to be close to it. It's almost like being part of the art myself when I produce his work. With Chunky, our relationship's complicated. I've known Chunky since he was 15 years old. Do you know what I mean? And now we have like a best friend, big brother, little brother, big brother, little brother type of relationship, right? Do you know what I mean? And it's actually emotionally charged, and I'm emotionally invested in Chunky, like deeply. Do you know what I mean? You know, or like when I was working with Daisy Adams, I could see that Daisy had it. And that wasn't necessary, even though we're friends now, but that wasn't about friendship. It was about this person. Like at the time, she had the radio show, morning show, and she was on from like 6 a.m. And I was like, her work ethic is amazing, because I checked how many days she had off. She had none. So I'm like, she's had no days off. She's had maybe like 50, 60 artists through the studio. Her network is growing. She's a good DJ. She's becoming a tastemaker. I'm like, sooner or later, people are going to start taking her seriously. I want to be involved in that. Do you know what I mean? So I chose Daisy based on not just the potential, but what she was showing, that it wasn't necessarily creative. It was like, you must be getting out of bed to get to the radio with a full face on at 4 a.m. Like, work ethic is not a problem with this person. I'll work with them.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? You know, and then there's like some other people that like came along. So like I had a short run, like a really short run with Banco. But that was more about like, you know, the business around him wasn't always that sound. So it was like helping him kind of untangle a little bit of like his deal that he had and things like that to move on, you know. Worked with Slay for quite a while. And that was another one, you know, he was like, I need a manager. Can you support me with this? And at the time, he was the first artist that I officially said, I will officially represent you as your manager. And it was good because we had our first experience of that with each other. Do you know what I mean? He'd never had a manager before. I had managed somebody before. And the aim was always to go, actually, I think I want to manage you until you get too big for me not to. Because I'm busy trying to build this over here. Do you know what I mean?
TPG.
And actually what happened with him is he decided to pursue drum and bass. And I didn't believe in that. Because it's not my natural space.
Makes sense.
It's not my natural space. I wasn't excited by drum and bass. And I was like, actually, if you want to be a drum and bass MC, you don't need a manager for that.
No.
You just need to be what you are at the moment, which is really driven, excited by what you do. Do you know what I mean? And where he's ended up as a result is all like down to him and his vision. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, I don't want to get behind it because it don't excite me.
Do you know what I love what you just said there though? Because I think a lot of people, they do things just for the check, right? And don't get me wrong, like the check's good when the check's coming in. Listen, do you know what I mean? Give me the check, put it in my pocket. But at the same time, something you said earlier, you said like authenticity is really like important to you. And if you're not gelling with the music type or, you know, you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it as well. And do you feel like that has been a lesson though, like something you've had to like learn, or do you feel like that was always the case? Like,
if you didn't believe in the vision? Or
Yeah, it's just always been there. It's always been like that. But also, like, if you just want to work for a check, being in entertainment is the wrong place. Because there's so many easier things you can do just to get a check.
Yeah. Like
do you get me?
All the ups and downs that come with it.
Like if you're in entertainment only to make bread, you're in the wrong place.
Sure.
You're just in the wrong place. There's easier places that you can go to where A equals B, B equals C. Do you know what I mean? A creative career is like a bowl of spaghetti.
100.
Other careers are a straight line. You start at A, you get to B, you get to B, you get to C. And your money changes accordingly.
Yeah.
And you contribute to a pension plan and all of these kind of things. Do you know what I mean? And you do a lot of things sooner than your counterparts in the creative world. Do you know what I mean? So if you're in creative and entertainment only for bread, you're not gonna have a good time.
No. And what you were saying earlier, like you've had to like evolve, right? And you've had to adapt with, I guess, the changing landscape. So you've been running your agency, right, for an extended period of time. But you just mentioned about the fact that you're winding it down a little bit.
Yes, winding down, because the past 2, maybe 3 years, I've been too mad.
Yeah.
They've been too mad. So to put it into perspective, like it went from being a business that was turning over like, so the first 7-figure year was in 2020. Yeah. Where like, so 2020, COVID year, a lot of people like suffered, the businesses went down.
Sure.
In entertainment, anytime there was a situation where you had lots of people sat in front of a screen, it was an opportunity in marketing and advertising.
Sure.
So the business went from being like an idea to having like a 6-figure year to like jumping massively to having a 7-figure year. 2020, 2021.
Very quick.
Like really quick, super quick. So quick that I wasn't prepared for it. So, and again, you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't know that it was gonna be an advertising company. And then by the time it was making ad money, I also was like, shit, how do I manage this? Do you know what I mean? I managed it best as I could, basically. One of the things that, looking back, is having a partner who had experience or having investors that had experience would have made it a different... It would have made it different, though. It would have made it different. Maybe it would have scaled quicker. Maybe it would have grown quicker. Maybe it would have been more successful. But it definitely would have been... The quality would have been different. Because the purpose and the reasons would have been different. The access that creative people on the ground got to a business of the size that it became would have been different. Do you get me? So it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have been the same at all. Fast forward to probably like 2023, it goes from being like mid 7 figures to being back to like turning over $500,000. And it's like, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not.
No, well, with how much you have to pay out as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. Like at one point, like the wage bill was £90,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like it's mad.
That's a lot. And you know, the people you were working with, was it like some of them like salaried staff, or was it more like you were working with like freelancers?
Everybody got paid over the top. That's how I ran my business.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought doing good business was. Pay everybody early, pay everybody up front, pay everybody over the top. But it also meant that sometimes I would have clients that would like renege on a deal and leave me in like a 6-figure hole. I go, rah, how did I get here? You know, one of the hardest things like with business as you're growing one is cash flow. Do you get me? And it's like...
We still got the team here who are wanting their monthly bread.
So what it means is that a small business, do you know what I mean? So like, even though like I've kind of said a few figures, it was still a small business, like tiny in comparison to some of the people that TPG was competing with.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have got from A to B without a lot of lending.
Yeah.
Big business overdraft.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Big business overdraft was the way to do it. So it means that like, you know, for like large parts of the year, months at a time, like you're like operating in the red.
Yeah, literally.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think, and that's the honest part of it, right? And not a lot of agency owners, business owners would say that, you know what, like a lot of it is borrowing for the time being.
Yeah, for sure. But it only takes like one or two mad things to happen. For it to all of a sudden be like, yo, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so at one point I was kind of like looking at the cash reserves, going like, it's a couple $100,000 there, like that will last. I'll scale everything down. It will last. It lasted for 5 months.
Oh wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was so much other stuff happening where like I used to like, say if we had like a big activation that was happening, I'd like bankroll it all.
Yeah.
Go, okay, I'll pay for it all, I'll advance it all, I'll make it back on the other end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got to a point, especially with like the 2 wars that were happening or are happening, it just got mad. Like, you know, couple things that were happening. So for example, in the art world, with all the sanctions and all the Russian sanctions, a lot of those oligarchs are not hiding their money in art no more. They're hiding it in crypto and other places. So it means that the art market is mad. So for the 2 artists that I manage, that I work with, that looks different now.
Yeah.
You know, and also like, for example, with some of the brands that we're working with, the cost of freight by sea has gone up by 150%.
Ridiculous.
Because you can't go through the Suez Canal no more.
Yeah.
Because Houthis will just land the helicopter on your ship and take it, right? So that means those ships are going around now. They're going around Africa. It's another 60 days on the trip or something, right? To get to Europe with stock. So the cost of freight is up so much. It means they go, boy, we need to cut costs. Where should we cut the costs? The retainer we got with that small agency, it's all good work and it's cultural and it's nice, but maybe we can't afford that.
Yeah.
Let's cut it there. Do you know what I mean? So you got that going on as well. So it's the knock-on effects of those things that you think like I never thought that I would cite like pirates in the Red Sea as a problem for my business, but they have been. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're
That's so mad, isn't it, when you think about it? Like,
yeah. But you know, but these are the things that over the past couple of years have been happening where like there are a lot of agencies that are either struggling, but they're just like writing bare think pieces on LinkedIn to try and like appear to be present when really there's not that much work happening, or scaling down, which is what I've done, is scale down. I was like, you know what, I'm going to scale down to the point where if it's just me, it's just me. But then what does that look like? Do you know
what does that look like for you on a personal level as well? Because if you're doing all these different things, like...
Yeah, working without an assistant is mad. Like I had an assistant that was so good, and then when I didn't have her no more, it was just like, oh, this is horrible, man. Yeah. So basically last year I went in-house as a consultant with an agency from London called Truant. So I went in-house with them last year. Well, TPG is still ticking over in the background. But it was an opportunity to go, yo, if you come in-house here, like you can't really say it's a TPG job. Like you'll have to like kind of be part of the crew. But they're actually like past clients.
Got ya.
So the work that I've done with Rockstar Energy and Ray and Tom Grennan and some of those artists, that was through this bigger agency. And TPG provided the activation production.
Got ya.
For the brand activation for Rockstar Energy. But having the opportunity to go, you know what? Things for us as an agency are looking mad. I have the opportunity to take everything that I've learned for the past 10 years and apply it somewhere else for a bit. My ego's in a good place.
That's good.
Do you get me?
And I'm so glad you said that, right? Because for a lot of people, they will burn themselves to the ground before they just admit that maybe it is a bit of
it's mad. I've got friends that are like...
issue that they just need to just take a minute.
I've got friends that are securing like hundreds of thousands of pounds of like equity in their home against their business and stuff like this to like try and get through, and it's like, I don't think I want to do that.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying?
But it's a pride thing though as well. Sometimes people just want to show face, right? And the fact that you're even sharing this is just amazing in a way. And
not everything, and it's something that a lot of people preach in Black community, Asian community. They go, own a business, own it, it's yours forever, hand it down to your children, like all this stuff, right? And you find yourself with a business with all of these like back of your mind stuff that you've been taught.
Going back to the idea of like, you know, bias as well, right? Like almost kind of like philosophies from other people back then when it was maybe more sustainable to do, but the world is changing, right?
Speaking of the world changing, like the way that people are doing business now, like our white and European counterparts are founding businesses already thinking of an exit. They're starting a business going, I want to sell this in 2 years. I want to sell this in 5 years. We want to get investment by year 2 and scale it and sell it on year 5. And I need that's how they think.
100.
Where, do you know what I mean? There's an idea, and there's an idea that's also pervasive in rap culture, which is get a business, own your business, hand it down to your kids. But not everything lasts forever.
No.
And the world doesn't stay the same forever neither. Do you know what I mean?
One of the things that you have said like throughout quite a few times, which is probably kind of why I think the genius comment does resonate, right, is the fact that you've said like, what's next? But a lot of people, they, again, pride, ego, like, no, I just need to show face. I just need to, you know, I've said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it, That kind of holds people back.
Mad.
Whereas I think like quitting is for winners, like, do you know what I mean? And I don't mean like in the sense of, oh, things get hard, so I'm going to quit. But it's also knowing when to kind of be like, okay.
Knowing when. Like, knowing when to leave the party.
Yes.
Is like, it's for real. You know, you can stay at a party too long and you look around and no one's having a good time anymore and you go, right, we should have left an hour ago.
The amount of times that I'm like, yo, I should have gone, like, but no, I'll have a few more drinks. No. What happened? Why did I do that?
Do you know what I'm saying? So no, definitely that, but not everything, like, lasts forever.
Yeah.
Not all circumstances remain the same.
Yeah.
And being prepared with a business, knowing that, do you know what, like, it's not somebody will rate you for saying it's time to turn this in now.
Yes.
Close the door on this one because I know that something else is going to happen over here, or I know my opportunity is better over here. That's cool. What's not cool is holding on to it until it's nothing. You're burnt out, ragged. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's not cool.
And do you feel like, you know, you said like it was sort of 2023 where you were kind of like making things a little bit scaling down and like, then you did like a consultancy job for someone else. Like, how did you feel like during that time? Were you kind of like a bit burnt out and like just...
That was last year.
Okay.
That was last year. Last year, like, I was so sick.
Yeah.
I was like totally burnt out last year. Yeah, I had like months at a time where I was like, yo, just ill, had like vertigo, like all of this stuff.
Way.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that is a reality. I think burnout is a reality. And yeah, running a business is one of the hardest things you'll do if it encounters any significant success.
Yes.
And nobody prepares you for that.
Yeah, and your business did, right? It did, like you said, it got to where a lot of businesses would even probably hope to get to. But then what again, thinking about the future and what's next, what you're doing. So you're obviously, you've got a new position right now.
So I'm with an agency called Ear to the Ground. Like, you have to know when it's time to draw a line under things. But also, like, when you do move on, what do you bring with you? What do you bring with you? And are you going to the right space? So it'd been a long time of like meeting like executive recruiters. Yeah. Like, I interviewed for a couple of things that were like, one of them I interviewed for was actually like probably too senior for me. Do you know what I mean? Which is like, it was up there. But yeah, it always comes back to, can I add value to the space that I'm going? Am I going to be welcomed in the space that I'm going into? Do we share
the same values?
The same values.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So Ear to the Ground as an agency, like, they do a lot of like similar work, big work, brand work, sport, music, art, culture. It's the right fit. Yeah. It's the right fit. So I'm there as an account director. Yeah. And the good thing is that I get to bring everything that I've been and everything that I've made with TPG with me through the door, and it's wanted.
Of course.
And it's respected. Do Do you know what I mean? So that's
your knowledge, your
that's
skills,
the space.
your experience.
So and this comes back to the beginning because, you know, when we talk about pivoting, not everybody means pivot.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people talk about pivot, really what they mean is like, oh, what did you do to get to the next thing? Do you know what I mean? And that's maybe about moving upwards. It's a different direction.
Sure.
But the actual pivot is, I think, a bit of a myth, actually. It's a bit of an untrue like analogy where what this has been like is going, yo, I've got this big thing moving at speed.
Yeah.
And I've had to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
But you don't stop immediately.
No.
You slow down gradually.
Yeah.
And then also you got this big thing that you built that you got to turn it around and change the direction.
Absolutely.
And that also takes time. So it's taken maybe the best part of a year to go, it's probably time to wind the agency down. It's time to work out what relationships I keep, what business relationships I maintain, what parts of TPG can still exist in the background because there's still artists to manage and things like that. But actually, where do I take all of the business experience and cultural experience and acumen? That's taken also, it's all taken the best part of a year to do. So pivoting isn't just like, oh, I have an idea, change direction.
Absolutely.
There is, no, the thing's got to slow down, it's got to stop, it's got to reposition, and it's got to also go in the new direction.
And then, like, again, one of the things that I feel like I keep hearing from everything you've spoken about is that idea of just kind of reevaluating and actually taking the time to do that, which, especially when you are like running a creative agency, or who has the time to usually do that, right? But the fact that you've actually taken that time, just like when you were an artist and you needed to take a bit of time, that retainer freed up space for you to think and be like, what do I want to put out? Do you feel like, in a way, kind of coming on as an account director for this new agency, whilst things have been kind of ticking over, has given you a little bit of space?
Nah, I treat it like my own business.
The agency that you're working with?
Yeah, the agency
now?
I'm in now, like, I treat my position like my own business. My clients are too big.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, one of my clients is enormous. Like, it's not a slow down headspace situation.
No, see, no. You're still amped. You're up there.
We're still moving at speed.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? We're moving at speed.
You're taking a few more breaks.
That will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will come. They're things that like I have to learn.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Things like taking a break and stopping and all of those things. I've had to learn those things. Like, I didn't stop last year. I stopped last year by force.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Up until then, it was like, you know, spending all this time in Dubai, all this time in the UAE, but I wasn't not working. I was probably working more because that's what the culture requires over there. Do you know what I'm saying? So I never stopped for years, probably the past 5-6 years since I actually stopped. So that's something that I'm probably going to have to learn. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, I was chatting to somebody last week, chatting to the head of culture at the agency, and you know, I messaged her. I was like, I think I want a coach. Never had a coach before. I've never had one before. I've never had a coach. I've had a lot of informal mentors.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of mentoring through culture. But I've never stopped and gone, I want an official coach and this is the reason why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the transition from being agency owner to working at an agency but still having quite a big responsibility, big clients, that's a transition that I'm in the middle of, that I don't have the opportunity to have a helicopter view of.
Got ya.
So I will need coaching for that.
Absolutely. And just having that like space to probably, again, just talk about where you're at and like all the emotions and the feelings, and because I'm sure people still hit you up, right?
I don't do feelings like that.
Do you not?
No.
What, you don't express them, or you don't?
I don't do them like that in my work. Like, but that's more like hip hop stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But if you make your work, if you're too emotionally invested in your work, you will be so unhappy for so much of the time.
But when did you learn that lesson?
As early as I can remember.
Okay.
As early as and I don't think that's a lesson that I learned. It's just a truth that I accepted.
Got ya.
You know, there's some truths that you just accept.
Yeah.
It's a truth that I accepted, that business should never be personal. If you make it personal, you will have the worst time. So I've been very good at that.
Okay.
I've been very good at that. Even when I work with my friends,
they
might do some fuck shit that is just mad. But I go, but it doesn't matter because they would have done that to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not personal.
Yeah.
if I make it personal, it's done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So emotions don't really come in to work like that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I might have my time at home where I go, raw, I had an agency for 10 years, 11 years, and I'm thinking about winding it down. Damn.
Yeah, and all the kind of personal stuff. So
do you know what I mean?
When you say you want a coach, is it more to kind of get you to that next level, or?
Don't know, never had one.
Interesting.
Don't know.
But the fact that you were open and you were able to turn around and say to the agency, like you said, the head of culture, this is what I want. Does it feel good to be able to, like, because you're, you know, when you're the agency owner, everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Does it kind of feel good to be helped, should I say, or?
Yeah, it's definitely new. It's definitely new to have the level of support that I've got.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The level of support that I've got from like leaders in the business is like, I've never had that before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's amazing. Bloody hell. So can I ask you another question? So obviously you're winding down your agency. Do you think you'd ever pick that back up in any capacity?
Nah, some things you gotta go, it's probably time. If you're saying it's probably time here, like, it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're going, yeah, it's probably, whether that's whatever it is, like a relationship, whatever it is, if you're going like, it's probably time, it probably is.
Yeah.
If you pick that up for any other reason, it ain't your own. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So there are some people that are, you know, that I'm talking to that are friends of mine that are like, oh, like, you know, sure you want to like wind down like TPG? Now, winding it down might not mean killing it.
No.
Because there's still artists to service.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's still artists that I have a commitment to that I will need to service. So maybe it will still exist for that reason.
And you think that that's the main part of it that you're taking from everything that you've been doing? That's kind of the main, the artist management, like that's not something you want to...
Yeah, I have a commitment to those artists.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? I couldn't just pull the plug on it just like... Do you know what I mean? Just in one go. And also, like, some of those artists are just hitting their stride in their careers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We were just speaking, we were saying, like, look, if you consider that Picasso was in his 70s before he started getting ratings, hitting his stride. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't know that, you know.
Yeah, there are some artists who I'm working with, like Dref is 50, Gaika in his 40s. Both of them are committed to having careers.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future. Is what they do, is who they are. It's what makes them the person who they are.
Yeah.
That means that as a manager, even in my kind of twilight, my professional twilight, I will still have purpose.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
And you know, we were talking about purpose like earlier, like what do you feel like, because you described it really well, right? You said like, you know, the first sort of 10 years, it was kind of like one chapter, then there was another chapter, this is like probably like the third chapter. In terms of like the next chapter of like your life as well, like where do you what do you feel like your purpose is right now, or what has it been, and what is it kind of evolving towards, or is that something that
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. You know, I don't know the answer to that question yet. I think that whatever the next like 15, 20 years of my career looks like, it has to involve innovation.
Yeah.
Whether that's like technical innovation,
AI,
or embracing new ways of thinking. I'm into AI, like I'm like seriously into it. Like I think in 2020 I read a book by a guy called Kevin Kelly. He's one of the people that invented the internet. He not invented it, he predicted the internet.
Yeah.
In the 60s. Yeah. And this book is kind of like a list of things that are happening whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Things like privacy out of the window.
Yeah.
People embracing public ledgers in. AI in. Nothing you can do about it. And if you don't embrace it and become part of it, you'll very quickly become like, you know, you see the uncle or the auntie that's using the phone and they're just like that with that's the one finger. Like, but you can be that like really easily.
Yeah.
If you don't at least embrace it.
Yeah.
Not saying understand it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like none of us are in the room, or well, I don't know, but none of us in the room are engineers that can put a plane together. None of us could fly a plane, but we get in it and trust it's going to get us from A to B.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not a car mechanic, but I get in a car, I trust it's going to take me from A to B. I feel like the same with AI. Like, people are so hooked on understanding it, or so hooked on worrying about what's going to happen. Where all you just got to do is just trust it and go with it.
Listen, I'm not anti-AI. Do you know what I mean? I've been, even like this week, I've been speaking to AI, like asking it questions. I've actually because I actually had like an ADHD coach. So I literally took all the notes and I put it through ChatGPT, and I was like, what's your kind of take on it as well? And have you got any strategies, et cetera, et cetera? Do you know what I mean? And it gave me some good stuff as well. I was like, I'll be trying that on Monday. Do you know what I mean? So can I ask you a question? And just to kind of really, again, we spoke about this way earlier, but like for you, like you have evolved, right? And it sounds like, again, you're not just stuck in the traditional way of doing things. You are kind of open to innovation, right? And learning about leveraging what's around you. What advice like would you give up and coming artists, creatives, business owners right now with where culture is right now?
Wow. I don't think there's any one piece of information that is more valuable than the experience. I think I believe that like wholeheartedly. So there's no one piece of information that's more valuable than the experience. So going and doing it, you're going to learn more by failing than anything that I could tell you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that they definitely have the answer already. To whatever it is the question they're asking, they already have the answer. So even like the way that I have mentored professionals is actually by kind of coaching and using a bit of like, Nelson Mandela had, he was famous for leading from the back or leading from behind. Which is where you go, listen, you're all here because you're talented already. You're all here because you have skills already. The only thing you don't have is confidence. So I'm going to give you the confidence by being behind you. So that if it looks like you're going to fall, I'll catch you. If it looks like you're going to go too far to the left, I'll put you back on course. Do you know what I mean? So leading from the back is something that I like really, really believe in. So that means giving people the opportunity to fail. And they have to have the opportunity to fail. But that also means they have to be prepared to fail. Do you get me? So prepare to fail. But they will also have the answer. And the world is moving and changing so quickly, I won't have the answer. The people that are involved in creation and involved in making work, they're the ones who are going to have the answers. They're going to have them quicker than me. Because they're going to be the ones that are actively failing or actively problem solving, not someone who's on the outside of it giving a perspective. Do you know what I mean? Or just not even giving a perspective because I'm not in it to see it, giving an opinion or giving you information that's based on something I had done. Do you get me?
Do you know what, that's so interesting, because my kind of understanding of like mentoring as well, and don't get me wrong, there's so many definitions, is that that person that can also be like, do you know what, I actually don't know in this specific situation, but what I can do is plug you into someone else who is, an expert in that field as well. So it's interesting what you said, like you're the person kind of pushing them. And even from my experience, I've realized that a lot of it is down to just someone's level of confidence. So if you can basically be like their cheerleader, their supporter, their you got this, Brucey, or whatever, like the Matilda foam, do you know what I mean? I have that in my head all the time, because in my head I'm such a cheerleader. And once someone actually called me in my sales and management role, they were like, oh, you need to stop being a cheerleader. And I was like, but I'm really good at being the cheerleader. Let me be the motherfucking cheerleader, please. Let me. Do you know what I mean? So I love that. And, again, you mentioned like you've mentored some really kind of high profile people as well, right? With that, do you think that like what kind of, I know it's come really naturally to you, but what kind of made you realize that, I can mentor these people? And was that confidence or was that experience?
It was all of those things. It's confidence, it was experience, and there were people that were approaching me. So I started professional mentoring in 2020.
Yeah.
And it was, a lot of people were seeking information, they were seeking guidance.
Yeah.
And I monetized it.
Listen, you got to do what you got.
Yeah, I monetized it. So I was charging.
Yeah.
So professional mentoring.
Yeah.
Charge for.
100.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Charge for. Wasn't charging the earth. Wasn't charging like a really like outrageous amount of money.
Yeah.
But it was also an opportunity for me to go, this is a great time for me to actually diversify.
Yeah.
My income anyway.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Agency life is happening, this is happening, that's happening. But also, like, the world looks like it's like burning and coming to an end. So where else are we gonna make some money in 2020, right? That's how the professional mentoring kind of happened and came about. But I think it's, do you know what we haven't spoken about is knowing, and like I'm a big believer in just knowing.
Yeah.
That's come from, there's an author that I read a lot of, it's called Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes, I know Malcolm.
He's an economist.
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours. So he wrote The Tipping Point.
Yeah.
He wrote Outliers.
Yeah.
He wrote David and Goliath. But Blink by Malcolm Gladwell is the book that didn't change the way that I think.
Yeah.
It reinforced the way that I think.
Okay, wow.
It reinforced it. So Blink...
That's powerful, that.
Blink is about connoisseurship. And it's about having the ability to look at a situation in a blink of an eye, know.
Yeah.
Because you just know. And there's a lot of things that I think people just know.
Yeah.
Because they put their 10,000 hours in.
Yeah.
You put enough time into anything, you become an expert on it.
Yeah.
Even if that's watching a particular soap opera.
Yeah.
You know everything about it, you know the ins and outs of it, you know everything about.
So my younger sister's like expert in Coronation Street. Do you know what I mean? She knows.
And I bet she's probably got some niche knowledge,
Yeah.
you know, or would know if something was right or something was wrong or if there was a change.
Yes.
Or she would just know if they got a new sound man on.
Yeah.
Or if the lighting is different.
I mean, when she sees Fizz in the Trafford Centre, she gets gassed. She's like...
But it's just about knowing.
Yeah.
And for me, having the ability to just know that sometimes what I've got to say is right.
Yeah.
Or sometimes what I'm about to do is the right decision.
Sure.
Just knowing is underrated.
Yeah.
It's underrated. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
People are experts and connoisseurs in hundreds and thousands of different things that they just are because they put the time in, they put the hours in.
Absolutely.
I put my time and hours into being around people.
Yeah.
Whether that's in nightclubs or performing or working with young people or whatever it is. Yeah. So I felt like that gave me a particular authority on giving sound advice. Just knowing.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that though. It's like intuition though, isn't it? It's that intuitive feeling and like knowing that when you're doing it, again, this idea of purpose, sometimes we put it down to this one big thing, but I think throughout life you have those like mini purposes or you know, like that time to kind of do what you're here to do. Have you read Robert Greene Mastery?
Nah, a lot of the self-help books. So like all of them, like all the like Robert Greene, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like Tony Robbins, all Atomic Habits, like all of these ones, I swerve them all. Again, because I subscribe to just knowing. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I also subscribe quite a bit to like I subscribe a bit to data, for example. So like with Malcolm Gladwell, he's an economist. Or like with Levitt and Dodner, like Freakonomics, like they're economists. There's data that kind of backs up
what they're saying,
what they're saying. Do you know
100%.
what I mean? But then there's also some parts of what they're saying that just come down to like just the freaky way of the world, just things happening. Do you know what I mean? And I subscribe to that a lot too.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, he talks about in the book, he talks about like your life's task and what you just said earlier, like sometimes you just know and like people have the answers already. And I really believe that like a lot of the time, you know from a young age, like what your, not necessarily what your career is going to look like, but you know, like you said, the values, the alignment, the way you think, There's clues in the past, there's clues in the present, and there'll be clues in the future as well.
Yeah. But also doing what you're good at is underrated.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that are like making themselves sick trying to do things that are way outside of their own skill set.
100%.
Or way outside of like the space that they're naturally talented and naturally gifted.
Yeah.
Where like doubling down on the thing that you're really good at is probably the way to success.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
And that thing where if people are already asking, so you know when people were like asking for your guidance and your, I think that's how most coaches or mentors become coaches or mentors, because it was the same with me. Loads of people kept being like, you know, like asking for my coaching, and then in the end I was like, yo, listen, I got good advice, you know, it can't be free. I can't be putting all this, and I still do it, don't get me wrong, it's the heart, it's the giver to be like wanting to help, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to take something that you're naturally good at and then monetize it, you know? But Danny, the K is giving me dirties, so genuinely, I've enjoyed this so much.
Cool, likewise.
I've really enjoyed it. I feel like a lot of the things you're saying, like I align with, like it's so nice to kind of hear it echoed back. Do you know what I mean? And probably some echoed back from someone who's probably learned it way before me, and I'm learning it right now. I'm learning the game. But it's nice to know that I feel like I'm kind of on the right track then, if that makes sense. Yep. Do you know what I mean? So good. I appreciate it. But we do this weird thing, Danny. I don't know, you might have seen it in a few of my episodes. At the end of the podcast, we hold hands and we say at the same time, here's to pivoting more in 2025.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here's to pivoting more in 2025.
Woo! Yeah! Oh. If you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to pivot, maybe you're working a 9 to 5 and you want to pivot into freelance life or pursue creative endeavors, then do not hesitate. Go on my website, www.dkcoaching.co.uk, and book in a free discovery call where I can sit down with you and figure out your next steps.